The first month at the clinic flew by. We did around 30 surgeries each week and saw lots and lots of cats and dogs for all sorts of things. In between, we cared for several hospitalized patients and emergencies. Each morning begins with admitting the day's surgery patients. We get them all checked in and settled in to wait their turn. We gather all the things they'll need, like their microchips, vaccines, supplies for heartworm testing, and go-home medication. We get everything set up so that when the doctor arrives, we can move right into surgeries. Next, all the meds and breakfasts are given to animals that have to stay a while. Litter boxes are scooped and dogs are walked. There's always lots of cleaning and laundry to be done. Our purr palace has lots of little faces waiting for some attention. Some just trying to work up the courage to let us give it to them, and some climbing our legs as we walk in the door. One of our first hospitalized patients to care for was a puppy named Tortellini and his brother BowTie. Right out of the gates in our second week, we admitted them from animal control with a bad case of parvo. At first, they seemed okay, but quickly went downhill to the point of needing hospitalization. At night, they stayed at the emergency vet, and every morning they had to be picked up and brought to the clinic. Parvo is so hard on their tiny bodies that they require lots of extra care and attention. We have to be extremely careful since it's so contagious. All the suffering the puppies with parvo go through and all the time and money spent by those caring for them could all be prevented with a very simple, low-cost vaccination. Unfortunately, lots of puppies that go up against this very deadly virus don't make it through. Even with several days of round-the-clock care, BowTie broke all of our hearts and lost his battle. We were very happy for Tortellini, though, who has made a full recovery. This wasn't the end of our dealings with parvo, though, not even for our first month. Shortly after, we had a visit from 3 more puppies with some suspicious symptoms. We prepared for the worst and met them with gloves, shoe covers, and gowns just in case. A quick test showed that they too had parvo, and they moved into our isolation room. Thankfully, their story is a much happier one, though, and within a week they were all back in their foster homes feeling much better. After all the temporary residents of the clinic are cared for, surgeries begin. Each animal is sedated, intubated, and shaved. Their nails are trimmed, and their bellies are scrubbed. All needed vaccinations are given, along with their microchip, and if they are over 6 months old, they're tested for heartworms. After surgery, they're wrapped up tight in a blanket and placed on a heated mat known as the beach. Their endotracheal tube is left in place until they're starting to wake up to make sure they're able to breathe well. Before long, they're awake again and only need to stay with us a couple more hours before their foster can pick them back up and take them home. Ivan's been recovering very well, and we discovered that his favorite place to be is right next to Dr. Keisker as she's operating. After he had been with us for just a little more than a week, we were able to remove his stitches and he was ready for a foster home. Ivan has a great, relaxed personality. He loves being with his people, and we loved having Ivan at the clinic with us. It was bittersweet as we said goodbye to our first office cat and watched him go into a loving foster home. And from the updates we get, it seems he's pretty happy with his new foster mom. Our first and second feral days were a success, and lots of kitties were fixed. While out trapping, we caught a very young kitten who was young enough to be tamed. We named him Zorro and added him to our purr palace. It only took him a few days of observing the other kittens to realize that we weren't so scary. He was so little and sweet. He was purring in our laps within hours, and brave enough to let us approach him within just a couple of days. He was quickly able to move into a foster home and be put up for adoption. One colony we trapped had several cats that were more fearful and timid than actually feral. There is a very nice lady who cares for and feeds these kitties, but wasn't able to catch and bring them in to be fixed. Between our clinic and safe spay and neuter, we were able to get the whole colony of 9 spayed and neutered in one day. A few days later, they were released. A few days after they had been released, the colony's feeder called, concerned that there were issues with the neuter, as one kitty was lethargic and she believed his incision had opened. When she sent a picture in, we found that he had a pretty bad injury on his lower abdomen, and he needed to be stitched up right away. A volunteer brought him back in, we got him all stitched up and set up in a kennel, and began caring for him as he healed. As we did, we discovered that this kitty was absolutely amazing and actually very friendly. We knew he could not be put back out into the wild and asked if she would let us keep him. She happily signed him over so he could have a chance at a better life. As he began to heal, he was such a good boy he earned free run of the clinic and gained several new names. Chuck Norris Bob Olaf, or Chucky for short, stole all of our hearts as he was introduced to new things around the clinic. As it turns out, he loves everyone. He loves on the dogs that come in for appointments, he greets and lounges with people in the lobby, and he is unbelievably adorable with the semi-feral kittens. Needless to say, Chucky now has a home here at the clinic where he has 5 moms to love on him every day and lots of patients and kittens to comfort. Patients like Busiek, who came in to rescue one with 2 other dogs who had all been dumped at Busiek State Park to fend for themselves. 2 of the dogs were picked up with little effort, but Busiek hid and stayed behind for a few extra days. By the time our emergency rescue team had him in custody, he had a pretty major head injury that required immediate surgery. Officers on scene said it appeared to be a bullet wound, although there were no bullet fragments found in the wound. We aren't sure exactly what happened to him, but we are happy to say he is now all healed up and has even found his forever home. No more worrying about whether or not he is safe for this sweet boy. Another sweet boy with a bad injury came back in to see us as well. Nadeau, who was in once before but had been just a little too rowdy to let us take a good look, came back so we could try and figure out why his leg injury just wasn't healing. We sedated him and took a biopsy to send off and be tested. In the meantime, we cleaned up his leg and removed any dead tissue to try and speed the healing process up a bit. The biopsy came back clean, so it gave us no real answers. The good news, though, was that his legs seemed to be reacting well to the deep cleaning. It was finally starting to close, and the tissue was staying a healthy pink instead of the blackish color it had been. After the healing process had finally started, it looked like it was on a roll, and before long it was all healed up. Now, he just needs his forever family. Another pair of return patients were Gandalf and Galadriel, who came back in to see us for some dental cleaning. Gandalf was here before for a check on his injured eye and some vaccines. His eye looks great this time around, but while Galadriel's teeth weren't too bad, Gandalf had some buildup. We carefully scraped it away to hopefully prevent infection and maybe give him a little better breath. Soon after, we got wonderful news that they were adopted as a pair and are living a great life in their new home. On our second feral cat day, we ended up with 2 more cats in need of medical attention. The first was a very matted kitty we named Queenie. Unlike the other 19 members of her colony, Queenie was friendly. With as friendly as she is, we assume she was a pet at some point, but somehow ended up separated from her family. We sedated, examined, and shaved Queenie. We found that she had severe ulcers, swelling, and redness in her mouth. The irritation and infection in her mouth was causing pus that made her fur mat up when she attempted to clean herself. We started her on antibiotics and pain meds, as well as supplements to help coat her mouth so she could eat more easily. All of this helped, but after 3 weeks she was still having issues. We decided to have special tests run at another clinic and found out that she had 2 major issues: a mycoplasma infection and calicivirus. Calicivirus cannot be treated and just has to run its course. It is common in unvaccinated cats, and we weren't surprised. Mycoplasma is an infection that could be treated with antibiotics. This was good news, and we started her right away. She also found a foster home where she could be a little more comfortable. We can't wait to see what progress she'll make with her new meds. The other feral kitty that needed medical attention wasn't near as friendly as Queenie. Some of the video of Patrick is pretty graphic, so if you'd rather not see, you'll want to skip the next minute or so. We felt we could treat him without needing to handle him and hoped that the stress of being contained wouldn't inhibit his healing abilities. We decided to call him Patrick while we had him. Patrick was attacked by something and had some very severe wounds on his head. We sedated and shaved his head to reveal some deep tunnel wounds that went from the back of his head down to the side of his neck. We placed drains, gave an antibiotic injection, and stitched him up. Then he went into a kennel for 10 days rest. After his time of kennel rest, we sedated him again, removed the drain, neutered him, and released him. He was extremely happy to be back home. When the kennel was open, he only ran a short distance, then seemed to soak in being free and back in familiar surroundings. Towards the end of the month, we were contacted by animal control about a mom and puppies who needed out of the shelter right away. Puppies have a hard time in animal control facilities because they're so susceptible to infection. Further complicating things was the fact that the mama dog, who we named Twyla, appeared to have a bad case of kennel cough. She was underweight and obviously struggling from all the stress of illness, new motherhood, and being in the pound. We brought her to the clinic to observe, diagnose, and treat her and her puppies. They all received antibiotics, Twyla received cough tabs, and the babies were supplemented with formula. Despite all of our efforts, one of the puppies didn't make it. We separated the pups from Mom, even though we hated to do it, so that Mom could take care of herself and the puppies could be more carefully monitored. This did the trick, and everyone seemed to be headed in the right direction. We vaccinated and heartworm tested Mom, only to find out she was also positive for heartworms. This poor girl really proved to be a fighter. She has now started her heartworm treatment and is doing much better. Throughout the month, we got to visit with lots and lots of sweet dogs and cats for vaccines and checkups. We found out firsthand what an adult tapeworm looks like up close after worming some new kittens. We met super sweet Thomas O'Malley, who was so handsome we just have no idea how he's not adopted yet. And one adorable litter required an impromptu photo shoot because they were just too cute. Meet Aussie, Bueller, Murray, and Marley Hampton, who were found on the side of the road all alone. They stopped by for some vaccinations and preventatives. To learn more about any of the animals you saw in this video, or to donate so that we can continue our mission to help animals like these, please visit our website at www.rescueonespringfield.com.